Welcome back to Indie Cult Horror. This time we're going to look at my interview with Reggie Bannister of the Phantasm series. Phantasm originally came out 40 years ago this year. The original film, very independently made, it has cult film status, and it's a horror film, so it was perfect for my thesis. And I really love Don Coscarelli's very independent way of doing things. He's definitely a director who makes the films he wants to make and will tell all kinds of stories, so I totally appreciate that from him. Reggie is, aside from being the star of the Phantasm series, was always in, he shows up in a lot of other horror films, everything from cameos to big parts in small films. So you definitely see Reggie and his wife Gigi popping up at conventions all over the country. He was a bit of a staple for a while there. I think every convention we went to, Reggie Bannister was there. But he's just that kind of guy. He's very laid back. He's a bit of an old hippie, but he loves to meet the fans and talk about Phantasm. And he's also a musician. He's got albums for sale at his table every time. I mean, he's just a great guy. But they're just really accessible people. They were really helpful and pleasant to talk to. If you're not familiar with Phantasm, I really recommend that you pick it up. They actually put out some great 40th anniversary box sets of the series and remastered editions of the film. It's a great time to pick up Phantasm. Phantasm is a film that's a little bit more dreamlike than many horror films. There is a sense of living in a waking nightmare, and not everything makes sense, but it all ties together in the end. Really scary stuff the first time you watch it, especially if you watched it I was maybe 15 or 16 when I first saw Phantasm. Really effective stuff. I mean, mausoleums and the tall man is just like one of the perfect horror images from American history of film. So I highly recommend the Phantasm films if you haven't seen them. And for those of you that are fans of Phantasm, I hope you enjoy this interview I did with Reggie Bannister.
Okay, I'm Reggie Bannister. I'm an actor, I'm a musician, your regular Renaissance kind of guy. And we're here at Chiller Theater. It's really happening here. Too bad you're not here, but maybe you can get some sort of feel of what's going on. This is a horror convention. And it's pretty amazing, really. I wish you could have, when I got up this morning, we're on the 18th floor, and I just wish you could have looked out the window and seen people in a line out the hotel door, all the way out to the New Jersey Turnpike. It was really, really pretty amazing. You can really get a feel when you come to Chiller Theater. This is in New Jersey, in the Meadowlands at the Sheraton. And you can really get a feel for how people feel about this cult kind of film industry.
You've been coming to Chiller for a while. I know I've seen you here many times. You like coming just to see the fans and meet people and everything?
Yeah, I like to see, I like to talk to them. They'll talk me right out of my voice. As you can hear, I'm starting to get a little bit hoarse. We were here last night. Yeah, they have a lot of questions, and they want to know what's going on with my life, what I'm doing next, what's coming up for me, and stuff like that. They have a real concern about me as the character from the Phantasm films, or the guy in Wishmaster, or the guy in Silent Night, Deadly Night Part, or whatever. And they really attach to that character, but at the same time, they're very personal. I find horror fans to be very personable and very kind of caring about how I'm doing and how other celebrities and stuff are doing.
Great. But what is it about the Phantasm films that you like so much?
What is it about the Phantasm films? I think Phantasm, it's really funny because people, I can't tell you how many people over the years have come up to me and said, well, what is this all about really? I mean, Phantasm, it's like this kind of wacky, out of joint story. Things happen, non sequitur kind of things happen. And but I think what it really comes down to, in the last picture that we did, Phantasm Oblivion, there's a scene where the young Mike, who's now grown up, Michael Baldwin, is out in this desert scene. And he turns around, it's almost like you get that nightmare kind of wisp of wind on your back, like something's back there. he turns around, he looks, and there's all these space gate kind of things. For those of you who don't kind of follow the thing, there's these portals that seem to appear in various places. When you walk through them, you actually go into a different time period or a different dimensional kind of a trip. So what's interesting about that is that we're all kind of just traveling through time and space, and reality is all kind of a shared thing that we all kind of share together. But reality can be kind of fragile too. So your reality may not be my reality, and vice versa. We have different lives. So it's kind of interesting when you start to think about Phantasm as life in general, past, future, present. It's all kind of running through our psyche at the same time anyway, isn't it? So it kind of symbolizes that in my estimation. And on the other end of that, these guys are stuck in this horrific cycle, trying to deal with this guy, the tall man. So, I think that's what I like best about it, because it's such a thoughtful piece, and I think it is so human, and it applies to us in that way.
Which of the series is your favorite film?
I used to try and stay away from that question, because I really think that the films are so pertinent one to the other. They flow, together like a fabric. Again, it's that life thing. It's like, how do you cut it up? Or divide the baby, or whatever. Which, do you like your son or your daughter best? No, but you know what? I really like working. I really like being on location or on the set. I like the creative process. So I think that the film, that when I really burst into the creative process in a big way, well, Phantasm 2 was great because I was on the set every day. I was on location every day. Myself and James LeGros, we were pretty much it in the film. And this is not to say that I just want to star in films. I mean, it's fun to star in films. I love all the little characters I've played as well, but I just like working. I like being out there and doing it. I like addressing other actors. I like addressing the camera. I like addressing a scene. I just like the process, the creative process. So I guess 3, because there was so much screen time. I was there all the time, every day. I don't think I missed one day, I'm not sure.
How hard is it working with such a effects-heavy kind of films like that?
With effects?
Yeah.
Well, we in Phantasm. I've been involved in effects in a lot of different films, but in Phantasm, for example, like when I get gooped with this yellow stuff that comes out of the bodies of the dead or whatever. That's kind of interesting. Sometimes I get it in the face. I even get it in the mouth, and so that can be kind of problematic. But and then again, there's, for example, in Wishmaster, I die horribly of these cancerous pustules, and it's all part of a process of makeup that went through actually 4 different stages of makeup, and so but it's all challenging. It's all good. I'm a very physical guy, so the more physical an effect or a gag is, the better I like it.
Next question: how do you like doing sequels?
Sequels. Well, certainly when you do the same character more than once, it's like an old shoe. So, as far as the Phantasm series goes, and I guess that's really the only sequel that I've ever been involved in, other than the like Silent Night, Deadly Night. That was a sequel, but I wasn't involved in any of the others. But sequels are fun, because what happens is you develop a kind of a family relationship with everybody that's involved in it, especially if a lot of the same actors come back. It's a good thing. I like it, yeah.
When you first started working with Don on the original Phantasm, what did you think when you read the first script? It had to have been kind of a strange experience.
Yeah, I didn't really read a script, I don't think. I don't recall reading a script. We sort of shot it by the seat of our pants, and I remember going in and Don handed me what we call sides. and that's just a few pages of dialogue, and you go, well, we're going to shoot this scene now, and you guys were just as the thing flows, you guys were just over here, and now you're going over here, and now we're shooting this in between thing, and it was kind of like that, and I don't really recall reading a whole script at once, but yeah, it was kind of funny the way we put that together. A lot of outtakes, I can tell you that.
Well, I was also interested, since you've worked with Don so much on the sequels, how is it working with him as a director?
How was what?
How is Don as a director? How is it working with him?
Don's terrific. Don's, that creative process that I talked about earlier. Don really enjoys that process as well. He really enjoys working with people that he knows, his friends. So when we just shot this film called Bubba Hotep, and it was me and Bruce Campbell and Ossie Davis, Daniel Roebuck is in the picture, and it was like we were all friends. It was really a lot of fun, and Don really got off on it. But he gives you Don's a great director. I think great directors hire great actors to do things, and then they let them do it. And then they ask them if they can bring it up or pull it down a notch or two, and that's it. I mean, directing should be the easiest thing in the world. It really should. It's not in low-budget film because directors usually wear so many hats. But a good director has to learn how to delegate. Hire good people and delegate, so that when he says, "Well, I need this to be done," if it's a crew person or if it's somebody in charge of a department, the art department, whatever, the production office, the location manager, I need this to be done, then as a director, you've hired somebody that does the job, and you don't have to worry about that anymore. Special effects, here's the effect that I need, so and so, and I need it, at such and such a time tomorrow, and your first AD, you got to be able to trust all those guys. Don's very good at picking and choosing people that get the job done. So, Don's a very good director, and he's really a lot of fun to work with.
Actually, I was going to ask you, I noticed with a lot of the Phantasm fans, there's an obsession with the car. The car is like a whole other character in the film.
Yes, it's true. Barracuda. It's kind of one of the ultimate muscle cars. I mean, there's the Challenger. That was certainly a muscle car. The GTO. We used to call them goats. When I was a kid. And, But the Barracuda was definitely one of the heavy ones because it had a Hemi engine in it, which is just short of being like a full. It's like a supercharged engine. So the Cuda that we have or that we used in the last couple of shows with the convertible is like that's a 454 cubic inch engine. That's a big engine, and and then when you start it up and it rumbles and it just it gets the guys' testosterone going and it gets the babes going. Gee, I sure would like to ride in that car. So it works for everybody. So.
As a musician, I know you're a guitar player.
Right.
Does working on movies take away from your music career?
Yeah, that's really kind of hard, and I really early in life, basically I would focus on one thing, and then I would reach a point in time when things maybe weren't really happening with that particular thing. Like I'd focus on music, and maybe things weren't really happening with it, or a group would have broken up that I really loved, and as a catharsis, really, I would then start acting. I would go and I'd get involved in a lot of theater stuff, either at school community colleges or little theaters in my community. And so I just get totally immersed in acting and just forget about music, And then, of course, music, it never goes away. And then I'd start playing more, and then I'd start to put a group together again. And then I'd do that, And then sometimes they'd intertwine. For example, when we were shooting Phantasm, the original picture, I was playing a lot of music. And I was playing probably 5 nights a week, different clubs and stuff. Because there was a lot of good club music going on then. And there was one particular club that I was running music in. I was hiring all the musicians, setting up each night, for the entertainment. And we were filming Phantasm at the same time, but Phantasm, the original picture, you have to understand, was shot on such a low budget that what Don would do, he would rent all the film equipment, the grip trucks and everything he needed to shoot the film, the 35 millimeter cameras and stuff. He'd rent them on like a Friday for the weekend. He'd rent them like Friday night, and shoot Friday night, shoot all day and almost all night Saturday. Then he had an extra free day on Sunday because they don't charge you on Sunday, see? So consequently, Phantasm was shot over about 2.5 or 3 years of weekends. And you never knew because the plot line always seemed to be changing, i.e. no script, I mean, I know he had a script, I just never, but I can remember times of, I'd be at the club, and I'd get a call from Paul Pepperman, who was the producer, and he'd go, Reg, we have to shoot this scene tonight. And I go, tonight? I go, are you aware I have to close this club at 2 o'clock in the morning? And he goes, yeah, we're going to have a car come and pick you up at 2, just when you're closing. And I'd go, well, okay, and then I can remember this one time they came and picked me up and they drove me all the way up into the San Bernardino Mountains in Southern California, and we shot the scene where the ice cream truck was like turned on its side and dwarves dripping all over the. No, it wasn't turned on its side. It was when we were getting Tommy and putting him in the. That was it, and that was the one. That was one that we shot, and I just went right from the club to the shoot. Crazy stuff.
Are you a fan of horror films yourself?
Yeah, I'm pretty much just a fan of film, and horror films were always interesting to me when I was a kid. Of course, I grew up with The Invisible Man, Claude Rains. Terrific. Here's the thing, in horror films, the horror films that I grew up with, it was like Frankenstein. And these wonderful actors, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1956, terrific actors, and really high quality films that conveyed really far out stories and stuff, and plots, and really trippy stuff, So yeah, from that angle, I really loved horror and science fiction. War of the Worlds, oh man, that was great. And then that's sort of, I grew up with that, and that sort of stayed with me, and so it was always fun the thought of doing a horror film. But I really do appreciate just straight up films. I saw a film the other day that I had missed when it was in the theater, but it was a film called Charlotte Gray, and a terrific film about World War II and the French Resistance, and the photography in the film was absolute. It was a masterpiece. I'm not even sure who the DP was, but it was masterful. It was like a painting. It was just gorgeous. So I just love film, horror films, sci-fi. That's trippy and stuff. But I love a good human story, and that's if a science fiction or horror film doesn't have a good human story with good human characters, it's a piece of crap anyway.
What would be the perfect role? What would be your favorite part to play?
Favorite part to play? Any part that's involved, well, like here's, if you shoot over here at this t-shirt, there's Bruce. That's Bruce Campbell, okay. So, when we were working on Bubba Hotep, I worked with Bruce. Bruce is just a pro. He's a pro. So any film that I shoot against an actor that just is like a pro, man, that's the best. And so I don't care what character it is, and if the more on-screen time I can get with people like that, the better I like it.
Thanks again for tuning in to Indie Cult Horror, and I will see you next time with more interviews from stars from cult, horror, and independent films.